Welcome to the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman Football Podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman Football Podcast. We're back again. It's been another fantastic week of Premier League football. I'm joined by Finno all the way from Scotland. Finno, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Good. Joe?
Really good, thanks, guys.
Kev?
Wouldn't be anywhere else in the world.
What a poetic voice Kev has. And what a week of football we've had as well. The weekend was absolutely crazy. Some bonkers results and some very controversial decisions and some angry Liverpool fans, including Kev. So we're going to start off on Saturday. Everton 2, Liverpool 2. Cracker of a game. Kev, take it away.
I mean, it was a cracker of the game, and I'm going to accentuate the positive, right? So I went through all the stages of emotion, all the stages of grief, basically, on that game. But you know how it is. We talked before about the getting thrashed by Aston Villa and how I predicted anyway that Liverpool would come back and show a real character in their next game. And they really did. I thought Liverpool were fantastic. I thought they started brilliantly. Thought they looked really composed. Thought they were the calmer side, but also just really superior, I think, to that Everton team most of the game. And really, you know, that Everton team that went in with a 100% record looked really good in everything they've done. Won loads of praise from all of us, right, saying that they were the team of the season so far. And Liverpool dominated them. And I know we're going to get onto this right now. All the frustrations, all the things that went wrong in the refereeing, all the things that went wrong in VAR. But I just want to start on that note to just say I thought Liverpool were fantastic. Yeah, terrible at times in defence, and we'll get onto that, absolutely. But I thought they showed real, spirit, real heart. And I think in Thiago, I'm now absolutely convinced they've got one of the best players in Europe.
But the elephant in the room, obviously, is Virgil van Dijk. I mean, I think it was last season or the season before when somebody showed a stat of what Liverpool did without him and with him, and the points difference and how much of a huge player he is. What a huge loss he will be. I mean, there's a bit of an overreaction from Liverpool fans asking for Jordan Pickford to be banned and etc. It's a contact sport. This stuff happens, you know. But Jamie Carragher is on about Liverpool need to go out and sign a new centre half in January already.
There's no official news as to how long he'll be out for, but history says it will probably be around 6 to 8 months, which could be a huge loss for Liverpool. I don't know if it's an overreaction to say that Liverpool's title bid will be drastically impacted by this injury. What do you think, Kev?
Well, I think it will. Of course, it's going to be impacted. But I think things are never as bleak as they seem, just in the same way that we laughingly, asked whether Liverpool had it in the bag after 3 games, I just think, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a roller coaster, isn't it? I think we're going to go back to the Liverpool sides, of like 2 or 3 years ago, where they found it much harder to hold on to leads, where they were much more vulnerable to set pieces. There's no escaping from that. It's going to be much, much harder for them. But there's a chance for people to step up. They still, hopefully, when the goalkeeper comes back in a week or so, they've got a very, very good goalkeeper and they've got some skilled defenders. So I think it's going to be a roller coaster. I think it's going to be fun and games for everyone instead of that fairly boring. You were all complaining about how boring it was with Liverpool winning every week. They're certainly not going to do that. They're certainly not going to be able to hold on to those crucial 1-goal leads that we talked about. That was the difference last season, wasn't it? The fact that they could win so many games by a single goal. It's not going to be as easy this time, is it? They're going to get battered in defence. They're going to have to score a ton of goals, but hopefully they will.
Is it right that Jordan Pickford won't be banned for any matches? So the tackle was 2 feet in the air, knee high. What do you think, JP?
He's a goalkeeper. The goalkeepers get a little bit of leeway, to come out and defend their box, and it's a contact sport. It happens all the time. Sometimes players clash heads, players get knocked out, concussions happen. He was defending his box. Okay, it was a bad tackle, but I think, they're the experts and they've looked at it enough, and they have the VAR and they have the cameras and committees, and they've looked at it and they've judged it not to be that serious. I understand Liverpool fans are furious because, their main defender and one of their biggest players in the last couple of years, even not the biggest, is gone now for the best part of the season, maybe.
The saving grace is that it was offside. The challenge is kind of a moot point in terms of whether it's a red card or not. Obviously, it goes knee high, 2 feet. It's a red card if the flag doesn't go up. I think what's more interesting is the other VAR incident towards the end of the game where that offside is really tight. You know, we're talking about the matter of centimetres, and the interpretation of the new handball rule basically robbing Liverpool of a 3-2 victory.
We could talk about the red card. I actually think he could have been red carded. I think it couldn't have been a penalty because it was offside. But I think the rules have no problem with actually cautioning or sending off a player. You know, you can get sent off after the whistle these days, can't you? As we've seen. So I think I think that wouldn't have been a problem. But yeah, on the offside quotation marks goal at the end, we've all talked about this. It's painful, isn't it? When there's a millimetre here or a millimetre there, and you're having to draw lines. How is that gaining an advantage? And I know, you know, you're all going to look at me and say, yeah, it's just because it's Liverpool and stuff. But it's not. You know, we've all talked about it. You know, it's driving us all bonkers, to use JP's word. When they're drawing lines, you don't even know where the frame should be frozen. You know, where you're having to draw those vertical lines down, and it's an armpit or it's a finger or whatever it is. It's absurd.
But it's technically correct.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know. Is it, though? Who decides where the line is drawn? Maybe you're right. Finno, maybe it is. Maybe makes sense to someone, to draw a theoretical line to try to decide where these things are. But honestly, what sense does it make?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the annoyance that it brings, but fans for years were talking about how they didn't want crazy decisions that weren't picked up to go unpunished or go unrecognised. And now we've gone the opposite way, that goals that we would have normally seen stand and probably wouldn't even have had a discussion about whether they're offside or not are now being picked apart by very technical cameras and giving us results that we didn't think that we would get.
Yeah, and I think you made a super important point there. It's about the howlers. And I think all of us can look back to that World Cup game between England and Germany. And he probably made you smile quite a lot, But that ludicrous goal, where the ball had actually clearly crossed the line and it wasn't possible to go back and check. That's exactly the sort of thing that VAR is for, right?
Exactly.
It's to go back and to show, all right, there was an absolutely clear mistake made there. Let's correct that. I know it's not always the case, and there's still controversy in cricket as well. For those of you who follow cricket, but that was always the point with when the Hawkeye system came in with cricket. It was to correct the absolute howlers. It was to correct the moment where the umpire had made a clear mistake and would want that to be corrected himself as well. And I thought we were having this return to sanity at the start of the season where those decisions were going back to the referee on the field and he was able to say, all right, yeah, I made a mistake there. But this one is so different. When it's a millimetre here, a millimetre there, they're not that accurate, those machines. You don't know exactly where they're drawing the line, right? Who decides where the frame is stopped in the first place? It just does not make any sense to correct something where there's just no one can agree whether it is. And you're probably right, Finno. Yeah, it probably was technically where they chose to stop the frame. I'm sure there's an argument that could be made that there was like 1 centimetre of his body over the line, but it did not give anyone an advantage, and therefore it's insane.
Yeah, I think the word here is consistency, and there is no consistency with this VAR. There's some crazy decisions. Man United got the penalty against Newcastle, which they missed, which was never a penalty. 2 weeks ago, Newcastle at Tottenham. Newcastle were dominated by Tottenham. Last kick of the game, Andy Carroll kicks the ball off the Tottenham defender's hand, who wasn't even looking. It was Eric Dyer, actually, looking away. No way it was a handball. But VAR gave the penalty. It's just some crazy. There's no consistency with this VAR, and they really need to sit down with a committee of experts and find an answer and find a solution and stick to something.
Yeah. Whether it's Arsene Wenger or whoever it is, or someone even more sensible, someone needs to step in and just say, look, sanity shall prevail.
Right, well, we will be hearing about it from the Liverpool fans for the next while anyway, until their next game.
So we're blue in the face, JP.
Blue, Everton blue. Calvert-Lewin got his goal, again, fair play to him, and Everton is still unbeaten under Ancelotti, and they're sitting pretty at the top of the league, and rightly so, and fair play to them. So, even though Liverpool were the better team, as Kev says, in his opinion. Everton didn't lose the game, and they would have got some heart from that late goal. Before we move on to Chelsea Southampton, there was a little game in the north of the border between Celtic and Rangers. Finno.
Yeah, Rangers looked really, really good actually. It was as routine a victory as you could have seen in an Old Firm game, and they dominated from start to finish. They got an early goal. I really think that having no fans there made a huge impact for Celtic. Rangers came out with a decent intensity. It was definitely not the high pace, high energy that we're used to when the fans are in the stands. But yeah, definitely a very important win for Rangers as they try and stop 10 in a row.
Were Celtic missing a few players as well, I think, from the COVID?
Yeah, they were missing 4 players. You could maybe say 2 or 3 would have started or played in. To be honest, I don't think it would have made an inch of a difference. Rangers just wanted the win more, and yeah, they were good value for their 2-0 win.
Joe, big game. You actually chose Timo Werner as your player who hasn't performed this season, and he actually listened to the show and he scored 2 goals against Southampton, but fair play to Southampton. What a comeback. Last minute goal, 3-3.
Yeah, I definitely should have seen the Timo Werner strikes coming, I think, after last week. It was one of those crazy games where I think if Chelsea had been 4-0 up at half time, no one would have questioned it. They were really, really good. Timo Werner was fantastic. He took his 2 goals brilliantly. In the past, Southampton, when they've been 2-0 down early on, they've gone on to lose 4, 5 or 6. So to come back and get a point was very, very impressive. I think the goal just before half-time from Danny Ings kind of left it on a little bit of a knife edge, and then Southampton came out second half and actually dominated Chelsea, to be honest. And if the game had gone on for another 5 minutes, Southampton could have nicked it.
I thought it was one of those great games, wasn't it? Because, as a neutral, or I suppose not quite as a neutral, right? Supporting another side with genuine title hopes. You're obviously pleased. Let's not beat around the bush. You're obviously pleased when they don't win. But they were so entertaining, Chelsea. I really enjoyed it, and I thought, if memory serves, so correct me if I'm wrong, someone, but Timo Werner, I think before he scored that first goal, I think he missed a bit of a sitter as well. And you did sort of wonder, is it going to be one of those of you of a certain age may remember when Dennis Bergkamp arrived in the Premier League and took forever to score. You just sort of wondered, I wonder if it's going to be like this. But now, Werner, after he took his first goal, he's just looked fantastic. And I thought, oh my God, this guy's going to score and he's going to carry on scoring. And this is going to be about 6-0. I thought Southampton were fantastic to come back and get that. What a game.
He scored 2 goals. He had the assist as well for Havertz's goal too. Danny Ings scores again too, Joe.
Yeah, and I actually think this match wasn't so much about Danny Ings. It was about his strike partner, Che Adams, who hadn't scored a goal all season. And some fans were starting to wonder, should he be in the team or not? He actually got the assist for Danny Ings' goal just before half-time, which was crucial. And then he showed great persistence to get his goal soon after half-time. So actually, he was brilliant on Saturday.
I think, again, you're talking goalkeeping errors with Chelsea. That first goal, I think it was way too easy. Danny Ings got round him and head-scratching play at the second goal. So I think it was Kev last week that said, what would we be discussing with Mendy potentially being out? Kepa, again, for me, was really poor.
Yeah, and again, just to go back to the game we were talking about before, so that's just to reiterate, right? That's the reason why I think Liverpool, if they had to have Adrian in goal for any long period, would not be anywhere near. And I think, being brutally honest, I think it's the reason why Everton are not going to be actually, 1 or 2. But I don't think they're going to be top 2 just because I don't think Jordan Pickford is that sort of goalkeeper in the same way Adrian isn't.
Jordan Pickford is the. I think he's the most liked goalkeeper in the Premier League after the weekend, I reckon. The third game on Saturday, Man City 1, Arsenal 0. Raheem Sterling with the only goal of the game. City, of course, up to 9th place, 7 points. Arsenal did okay, but this was a game we all expected City to win.
Yeah, it was. I was really confused by Mikel Arteta's team selection, actually. So he left Lacazette on the bench and played Willian as the number 9, which when you've got Aubameyang in the team just seemed extraordinary to me. And I think it was a massive missed opportunity for Arsenal because Man City won, but they're not at their fluent best yet. They're not looking like they're going to go and win 4-5-6, which they have done in the past. So I think that was a missed opportunity for Arsenal for sure.
I mean, De Bruyne was out. Sergio Aguero's back. He didn't look as sharp because it's going to take him a few games to get back into it. Funnily enough, Lacazette came on for Willian with 20 minutes to go. I think they would suit them better to play all 3. Willian maybe just a little bit behind in that false 9 or the 10 role behind Lacazette and Aubameyang. But of course, they're Man City away, so you have to, play with some sort of caution. It'll be interesting to see what way Man City's season ends up. I've got to say, though, defensively, they look solid, which I haven't said a lot. None of us have really said a lot this season.
We haven't said it a lot about anyone, really, have we? Anyone looks defensively solid. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, or is it defensively solid, or was it Arsenal, just maybe not committing as much as we'd kind of hoped they would? And I think, again, this came up last time we spoke again. It's Arsenal, it's all very well for us all to love Mikel Arteta, and I understand why everyone does. I love watching Arsenal play it out from the back. I really do. I think they're fabulous, But they can't keep losing, can they, against the top six? If they're going to be, if we're really going to say that they've turned the corner, especially in away games, they just don't turn up half the time, And I think until they do that, I mean, let's not go overboard. They're doing pretty well. No one's criticising them, but until they can come and really give those top teams a genuine scare in those games, then I don't think we can quite say that they're back where they should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 5 games gone in the league. Arsenal 9 points, level with Leicester and Villa. I mean, they're still in the cup. They've won the FA Cup last season, so they're slowly building. But like you said, Kevin, until they actually can put a marker down and beat a Man City or beat a Chelsea or beat a Liverpool in the league, then really we will kind of question this. And I suppose is it a psychological thing, Joe?
I don't know. I think, yeah, maybe it is. I think just in the last few seasons, they haven't won the big games. And although, having said that, they did beat Man City in the FA Cup semi-final last year, but they need to do it in the Premier League now.
Like you say, maybe this was just a chance. It felt like a chance. Like you say, Man City not coming in, looking brilliant. You just sort of, I don't know, fancied them to at least give them a bit more of a scare. That was all.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is Manchester City, one of the best teams in the world. We expected them to win this game, so horrified to talk about the final game of Saturday night. Newcastle 1, Man United 4. Horrible own goal for Man United, Luke Shaw. And then Newcastle had a couple of chances. Harry Maguire got his goal from a corner, terrible marking. Newcastle had some real chances in this game to go ahead. United missed a penalty, and on 86 minutes, Bruno Fernandes put United 2-1 up. Now, he put United 2-1 up when the Newcastle goalkeeper, Karl Darlow, was clearly injured. He was in a clash similar to Pickford and Van Dijk with Marcus Rashford. He came off worse. He was limping. He put his hand up to come off. Newcastle still had a substitution left. Now, Martin Dubravka, the Slovakian goalkeeper, is out injured. And Newcastle signed a guy called Gillespie, who is the third-choice goalkeeper. He had a horror show in the League Cup. And I think Steve Bruce was reluctant to put him on, but the goalkeeper was clearly injured. Man United got another 2 goals, 4-1. I mean, they'll be delighted after the last time out, the hammering by Tottenham to get the win. I noticed as well how Daniel James and Harry Maguire aggressively man-marked my man Maxima. Put him over the sideline a couple of times, and they could have been. Maguire was booked, but United deserved to win, not 4-1.
Yeah, it's one of those games that when you're watching it, you go, actually, this is easily a 2-1 game, and then when it goes 2-1, Newcastle chase the game, and then there's 2 quick-fire goals, and then suddenly it looks like a rout. Bruno Fernandes is a phenomenal player. His disallowed goal, and then the goal, I think it was to go 2-1 up. Just incredible. Absolutely postage stamp goals. When you have that kind of quality in your team, it allows you to have players like Harry Maguire who can have off days or off weeks or off seasons if you've got somebody with that kind of magic touch in the midfield to be able to get the ball from back to front and set up some goal scoring opportunities.
If you look at the difference though on the strength and depth on the benches, in the last 10 minutes Man United brought on Donny van de Beek and Paul Pogba, which was a bit scary.
Yeah, once you add up that money, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, those guys they're world-class players on the day, and it just takes 1 or 2 of them to turn them on. But yeah, Bruno Fernandes he's class. I think that was the first penalty that he's missed in 20, actually. That penalty that Karl Darlow saved for Newcastle. Speaking of Newcastle, last week, of course, we spoke about the crazy Sky Sports TV money what they're charging for pay-per-view. And Newcastle fans basically boycotted this game. Well, they probably watched it like me on an illegal stream.
I'm shocked that
we here on the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman do not promote illegal streams, but I had no choice. Basically, this £14.95, basically 15 quid in the UK, this fee, the Newcastle fans put the money, instead of putting it into Sky, they raised and donated over £20,000 to charity, which was, it was a brilliant thing to do.
I think that is a brilliant thing to do, and it just goes to show, £20,000. What's that? What does that mean to a Sky, or what does that mean, to the clubs when that revenue? It means absolutely nothing. It just shows what it doesn't just show one thing. It shows two things. One, how ludicrous it is charging that money. The second thing, that was brilliant from Newcastle. And I hope all fans now follow that lead, because sometimes you just need that, don't you? You sometimes need just one club to show the way, those fans. Hope everyone does it now, and I hope they don't get a penny for this pay-per-view.
I mean, there's, Finno, you were on about last week about the difference in the prices in India, and it reminds me a couple of years ago when I was living in Spain and I had a season ticket for Malaga, and it was €200 for the year. Now, this was a time when Beckham was at Madrid and he scored his first goal actually at Malaga. But whenever Real Madrid or Barcelona came to town, it was an extra €40. If the Premier League is 38 games over the course of a season, they can't just be picking out games and saying, look, this is pay-per-view, this is pay-per-view. If it's Tyson Fury against, Wilder and it's a big boxing fight, okay, then I can justify it, a one-off, a huge event, Clash of the Titans. But they're picking random games for crazy money. And like you said, Kev, we hope that the other fans follow suit and boycott this pay-per-view thing.
I think it was very telling that they haven't revealed the numbers for the pay-per-view matches.
I bet they haven't.
Which makes me think it's like 5 or 10 people have actually bought it.
There was a lot of negative press. To turn it on its head and create a charitable aspect to it is great. And Newcastle fans are definitely a fan base that are able to come together for a common cause. I know that they've done that with their boycotts of Sports Direct when they've been trying to get Mike Ashley out of the club. And this is nice that it's for a more positive reason.
Before we leave Newcastle, when you said Gillespie there, I thought you meant Keith Gillespie was brought back as a goalkeeper. Then.
Keith Gillespie. I was just reading a book about him, actually. He was in a big fight with Alan Shearer in Dublin.
It doesn't particularly surprise me.
Yeah. Way back when. No, this Gillespie was not as skillful as Keith Gillespie. Anyway, moving on to the Sunday's games. Sheffield United and Fulham, both struggling. 1-1. Did you watch this game, Joe?
I didn't watch this game. I saw that Mitrovic missed the penalty and then gave away the penalty for Sheffield United. So a very, very bad afternoon for him, that's for sure.
I know a lot about Mitrovic, actually, because Newcastle signed him from Belgium, and he'd won the Under-21 World Cup with Serbia, and he was on fire. But he was big, he was physical, he was strong, he seemed to lack a little bit of pace, but he needs 4 chances to score a goal. And then, of course, Newcastle went down and Newcastle sold him to Fulham. He's their main man, Fulham. But, really, Fulham are going down, lads, aren't they?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Those two. I mean, if you've just seen 2 of the 3 that are going down, Sheffield United and Fulham, I mean, it's early days, as we all say, but it's hard to see them clawing their way back, isn't it?
Fulham are going to need Mitrovic to score 20 goals a season, I think.
I mean, when you look at that Fulham team, they've actually made some nice signings. They've got Ademola Lookman, ex-Leipzig. They've got Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well. Mitrovic. Lamina looks like a decent player as well, but they just can't seem to get over the line.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a huge win for them. Sheffield United got a late penalty with 5 minutes to go, which meant both of them, after 5 games, have a 1 point each. Another game straight afterwards, Crystal Palace won, Brighton won. There's something that Joe told me about this game I didn't know, actually. This is a bit of a rivalry here, which I never really knew about.
It's actually a huge, huge rivalry. So I grew up in Brighton and was always intrigued why, Brighton's biggest rival wasn't another South Coast team, it was actually Crystal Palace. So I did some digging to figure out why that was, and it all goes back to 1976. Both clubs were in the 3rd division. Brighton appointed Alan Mullery as boss, and Crystal Palace appointed Terry Venables. Now, those two hated each other. They had bad blood from when they were playing together at Tottenham Hotspur. In that first season of 1976, Brighton and Palace actually played each other 5 times. In those days, there was no kind of penalties in the FA Cup, so they actually played each other 3 times until there was a winner in the first round of the Cup. And in that final game, Brighton thought that they had equalised late on with a penalty, but then they were ordered to retake it. They missed. Palace won 1-0, and then cue pandemonium, carnage between the players, and the fans have actually hated each other ever since.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. I love an old story like that. And I remember those days of the FA Cup. I remember Liverpool and Arsenal having to play about 3 times, and also in the league, so played about 5 times each other in about 2 days. No, love a blood story. That's great, Joe.
I think Man United and Leeds played each other 5 times. Maybe 6 times in one season around the early 90s. Man United might have won them all, actually.
Yeah, they probably did. Yeah.
Actually, the best bit about the story is, obviously, Palace are known as the Eagles, And in the pub, before one of those matches, Palace fans started shouting "Eagles, Eagles." And then Brighton fans in protest started shouting "Seagulls, Seagulls." And the Brighton chairman happened to be in the pub that day, loved it. And then the next season, the crest was changed to a seagull for Brighton.
Oh, mate, I hope that's true. It does sound like one of those things that might just be an urban myth, but I don't care. I absolutely love it. Well done, Joe. Now it's true.
It's definitely true.
The eagle is a ferocious killer bird, and the seagull is kind of like a sky rat around the seas. But anyway, enough about our wildlife.
This sounds like it should be an Alan Partridge moment.
It sounds like it should be in a poem.
Well, maybe, yeah, give me to the end of the season on that one.
Right. Tottenham 3, West Ham 3. Finno, what a game.
Yeah, I didn't actually watch the game because I saw after 15 minutes that West Ham were 3-0 down, and I thought, well, that's it. It's probably going to be another 6-goal Tottenham win. But yeah, what a story for Lanzini. You know, he's been frozen out of the team for a while, and he comes back with arguably goal of the season contender. And West Ham just had this kind of never say die attitude, and I'm not going to say that it was because Bale was on the pitch that we managed to get 3 goals, but he was on the pitch and we scored 3 goals. So I think West Ham have shown a pretty decent backbone over the last few games. David Moyes is now in the dugout, so that helps. That breaks his curse. Tottenham, they'll be kind of scratching their head wondering how they lost the 3 points there. Son and Kane, arguably the 2 best players up top for a Premier League team at the moment. Again, 2 goals for Harry Kane, just phenomenal. But yeah, a great Super Sunday game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm sure it's not because, you know, Gareth Bale was on the pitch, but, you know, of course it can destabilise a team a little bit when someone like, you know, everyone's been waiting for him to play his game. He is like the most, I don't know if he's the biggest name in the, is he the biggest name in the Premier League at the moment? I don't know, but anyway, maybe it's just me, you know, watching too much Spanish football or whatever, but, you know, we've all been waiting for him to come
Maxima.
Yeah, you keep coming back to that. Anyway, you know, yeah, I suppose maybe it did just, you know, distract them a little bit, whatever. And he had a really good chance, didn't he? You know, to put the game beyond doubt, like really late on. Yeah, extraordinary though. You know, well done, West Ham. You know, fantastic.
I was really surprised actually because by all accounts, West Ham were woeful in the first half. I mean, absolutely dreadful. So to come back and score 3 late goals, like Finno said, shows they do have, you know, some backbone there.
Tottenham sitting on 8 points after 5 games in 6th place. They're developing a little habit now of conceding these last-minute equalisers in games they really should have won against Newcastle and now West Ham. I mean, I think they're looking good, and I think Tottenham they're only going to improve.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing proper football, aren't they? I think when Mourinho came, whenever it was last season, right, midway through last season, he seemed to come in with a view to just tighten things up, you know, and let's make sure that we do the basics right. And we've been waiting to see really how they'd come out this season, and I've been pleasantly surprised. I think they've been really positive. Like most teams in this season, right, they've scored a ton of goals, they've conceded a ton of goals, so, you know, in that sense they've been like everyone else. But, you know, all credit to them. I've always had a soft spot for Mourinho. I always think he's top value for the Premier League. Great that he's here, and I would love it if they would just continue in this way and just continue to play this crazy positive football that everyone else is doing.
Finno, you've got to be happy with the turnaround for West Ham.
Yeah, 100%. I think I even predicted that West Ham might have gone down at the very beginning of the season. It looks,
you did.
Yeah, classic. It looks like West Ham are turning it around bit by bit. It was great to see Yarmolenko get an assist of an assist. He's been frozen out as well, so it shows that Moyes is finally got the depth in his squad that he wants. And it was great to see the scenes at the end. It's clearly a team that's very together. The huge pile-on was very reminiscent of old school West Ham. So yeah, very positive.
Just you said there at the start that you stopped watching when it was 3-0 Tottenham. It reminds me of a couple of years ago when Newcastle were playing Arsenal. I was in a pub in Rome and they were 4-0 down at half time, and I walked out of the pub and I got a text from somebody saying, like, is it on? And I looked at my phone and it was 4-3, and I ran back in just in time for Czech Diotti, who rest in peace, he's passed away since, smashed in a screamer to make it 4-4 in what must be one of the greatest Premier League comebacks of all time. The final game on Saturday night. Now, we asked each other last week who we picked for the surprise team of the season so far. I picked Aston Villa. They've done it again. They've won at the King Power Stadium. Ross Barkley on loan from Chelsea with a 91st minute winner.
I was reading earlier and I was surprised to hear, so Aston Villa are the only team in Europe's top 5 leagues to have a 100% record. So it's not Barcelona, it's not Juventus, it's not Bayern Munich, it's not PSG, it is in fact Aston Villa.
It just goes to show how this season, let's assume for 1 minute Villa are not going to win, 36 games this season. I think it just goes to show that we're not going to see what we saw last season. We're not going to see anyone streak away with it. If anyone is, it'd be Man City, I suppose, who might now win, 25 of the next 28 games or something. But I don't think they will, So I think, going back to what we were talking about earlier about the title race and so on, if you're any of those teams now, they're at the top of the league where it's all closed up. But, because let's not forget Everton were 100% and now they've dropped 2 points. So it's really close at the top now. And I just think, honestly, anything can happen. And we've been talking a lot about whether, we might see another Leicester or someone come through. I don't suppose it's going to be Aston Villa, but I do think it's there for the taking because no one. It's not going to be like last year where Liverpool didn't drop a point or only dropped 2 points out of the first 30 games or 20 odd games or whatever it was. So yeah, it's amazing to see.
I think actually the Aston Villa story is quite similar to the Leicester story in that they narrowly avoided relegation last season, the same as Leicester did the season before they won the title. It just seems that Villa are playing with no pressure now whatsoever. So you never know, stranger things have happened.
No, and in that season as well, it was that most of the top teams, underperformed that season and they took their chances, and absolutely all credit to them. They were fantastic. But, I think it would take a lot of those things to happen in the same way for Villa to do it. So, I would just enjoy it while you can. It's fantastic to see.
There was a couple of games last night, West Brom 0, Burnley 0 in an absolute bore draw. And according to the Wolves manager, a huge win at Ellen Road over Leeds, 1-0. Did you watch that one, Finno?
I didn't get the chance to watch it, no, but I think it is a huge result for Wolves. They were on a bit of a slide going to Ellen Road, a bit of a fortress, you have to say. Getting the result is a strong statement of intent, I think, from Wolves.
The funniest thing about this match is I'm just seeing, so Wolves are obviously full of Portuguese players and their kit looks like the Portugal kit from
good point, Joe.
Euro 2008.
Rui Costa and Luis Figo.
It was funny. I thought anyone who watched the post-match stuff going on, Conor Cody was funny. Interviewed by Jamie Carragher. If you've got a chance to go back and watch that, it's quite a funny interview where they were ribbing him about the fact that he didn't win the Man of the Match award, and Carragher was asking him if he could be Liverpool's answer back at centre defence, and he was having none of it. And I don't suppose for a minute Liverpool are going to sign him, but it was pretty funny.
It reminds me of sorry, Joe, a couple of years ago, a long time ago actually, but there was a team in Scotland that signed Claudio Canigia, and they also had a load of Argentinian players, and their away kit was blue and white stripes with black shorts and white socks.
Yeah, Dundee was it? Yeah, and then Canigia played, I think, for 3 or 4 more years. He even got a transfer to Rangers.
He played for Rangers a couple of years, yeah,
because he came out and he said I think it was for the World Cup in maybe it was 94 in America, or it could have been France, no idea, but he said, look, I can still play for this team, I just don't need to train. Very, very South American attitude. But yeah, big win for Wolves against Leeds. Pushed them up the table to 9 points. So Everton are sitting pretty on 13, Aston Villa on 12. We're going to go ahead and look at next weekend's fixtures. But just quickly, tonight is the return of the Champions League. It seems like a few weeks ago when Bayern beat PSG in the final. We're back again. Who knows how different it will be with no fans. So we're just going to have a little pick at who we think is going to win the Champions League. So listen carefully and run down the bookies after the show. Joe, who have you got?
I can't see past Bayern Munich. They won it at a canter last season. Seemed very, very comfortable for them. I know they haven't started amazingly in the German Bundesliga, but I just think they're so solid, they're so hard to beat. They've got the experience, so I'm going to say them.
Finno?
Bayern play this team in their first game. I think I'm going to go Atletico Madrid. I think Suarez has been a phenomenal signing for them. I think he's already scored 2 or 3 goals. I think he could definitely fire them to, if not the final, at least a semi.
Yeah, I mean they're a team of monsters, really, aren't they? With Diego Costa, Luis Suarez, and of course the coach they have. They won't be taking any crap from nobody. Whether they win it or not, I don't know. I'm actually going to go with Joe here. I'm going to go with Bayern again. I think the addition of Leroy Sané, along with the firepower they already have, Lewandowski, Muller, Serge Gnabry is world class, and it's just him in one wing, Sané on the other. It's just scary stuff, and yeah, they're only going to get better as the season goes on. I mean, the no fans thing won't affect them. If anything, they just, it might make them even better. So now Van Dijk is gone. You're hardly going to pick Liverpool, Kev.
I don't think I will. No, I mean, it's not very likely, is it? I think. Let's see what happens. Let's see if that front three compensates, or having Thiago there compensates a little bit, and they are able to just score tons of goals. But no, they're not gonna have that impenetrable, feeling about them. So I think we can probably discard Liverpool in terms of being favourites anyway. I also think, Barcelona are not what they were. It's hard to look at Real Madrid and think they're going to. But the only thing I'd say is my heart says let's pick an underdog, but underdogs almost never win the Champions League, do they? So who would you say was the last underdog to win the the last small club to win the Champions League? It's really hard to think. Anyone?
I'll go with Porto, yeah.
Yeah, Porto.
Yeah, Porto 2004. But don't forget, they were a small team compared to a lot of the teams that they beat in that year. But they'd already won it once before. They were hardly, an absolute minnow. So I don't know if it's Dortmund when they won it back in '97, something like that. I don't know whether you could describe them as a big club, or you have to go all the way back to Marseille, Red Star Belgrade. But I don't know. It's very rare in Europe.
What about what about 90? Was it 95? The Ajax team of Fanini, George, Overmars, Kluivert. This was a team of stars in the making. The Boers, yeah. And then they all went on to the big clubs, and they beat Juventus in the final. It might have been Kluivert that scored the winner.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. And I think about 9 of them ended up playing for Barcelona at one point. You're absolutely right, yeah. No, that was fantastic. And it's just, we've seen the Premier League start in such a crazy fashion. We've seen, like you say, Joe, most of the leagues not, no one running away with it maybe. And you just sort of think, wouldn't it be great if this season, I don't know enough about them, but an Atalanta or someone like that, one of these clubs that are universally admired, would perhaps come through this time. It could be Atletico maybe, but again, they could win it for the first time. But again, not exactly a small club. But I just, keep an eye on it is all I'd say. I wouldn't be, I think there will be some surprise results, certainly in these early games, where everyone's at 6s and 7s a bit, aren't they?
What about a Salzburg?
I mean, Salzburg really impressed, didn't they, last season when they got their first victory against Genk. They pushed Liverpool really, really close. They play attractive football, so
tough for them though, considering who you and Finno have picked to actually win the thing. In fact, you as well. So it couldn't be harder in terms of the draw.
You do imagine though, if football wasn't all about money, and the players that have been here, the Sorianos, the Kevin Campbells, the Manes, the Keitas, the Haalands, what damage Salzburg. I mean, I thought Salzburg were going to win the Europa League. I really did, until Haaland was gone.
But take it back to the Premier League. You could say the same thing about West Ham. Carrick, Ferdinand, Lampard, all these players came through West Ham, and if they'd all stayed there, we would have probably won the league 3 or 4 times, but money talks, unfortunately.
What? But we're talking about Europe, they didn't even qualify.
No, but I'm saying, if you take it back to the Premier League...
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Same with Southampton.
Yeah. I was going to say, he's bound to talk about that in a minute.
You've opened a huge can of worms there. Let's stick to Europe, really. And West Ham don't normally... I think the West Ham did play in the Intertoto Cup a couple of seasons ago, though.
No, do you know what, though? That's the thing. We can scratch around and we'll probably find about 5 clubs who we think have got a good... I don't know, maybe Ajax are rebuilding, maybe they'll have a great year or something like that. But do you know what? It'll probably be someone really boring. It'll probably be bloody Real Madrid again.
I don't think Real Madrid are...
I don't think so either. But
I think the force they were. I mean, I was a big Real Madrid fan growing up, and as Galacticos we all were, but I just don't think that they don't have the spending power anymore, and that was a huge thing, Back to the Premier League, kicks off again on Friday night. We're just talking about how good Aston Villa have started. Leeds have been brilliant as well. I mean, they only conceded, they only lost 1-0 last night, but just... They've come up and they're full of energy and Bielsa ball and they're brilliant. And this should be a cracker of a match, 9 p.m. Central European time. Aston Villa at home to Leeds. Who have you got in this one, Finno?
Aston Villa. I think Leeds probably on the face of things shouldn't be looking at getting points here. The one thing that's stuck in the back of my mind is that team is just so brilliantly unpredictable. But Aston Villa... Emi Martinez, I think, will be worth at least 9-10 points to that team on his own this season. They've got Mings, McGinn, Grealish, Barkley through the centre of that, or that spine of that Aston Villa team. I think there's strong things ahead for them, and as we've discussed, what a turnaround.
Yeah, Villa win would see them top of the league, 2 points clear. They would have bit your hand off at the start. They thought they were going to lose Jack Grealish, and everything's worked out for them. Everything's fallen into place. It's been brilliant, Joe.
This is my game of the weekend, actually. I think this will be a fantastic game of football to watch for a neutral. I think it will be end-to-end, loads of goals. We could see another 3-3, I reckon.
Well, they've been fun. Have they been brilliant? Yeah. Leeds have been fun, let's give them that. I think they've been, like almost every other team, they've been a barrel of laughs to watch. You never know what's going to happen next. They seem to be really unlucky against Wolves, to be fair. So they probably should have a point at least, maybe 3 points more than they have at the moment. Yeah, fascinated. Honestly, I haven't seen enough of Villa, apart from the way they, kebabbed Liverpool. I haven't seen enough to know how good they are, to be honest. So we'll see. I'll be really impressed if they win this one.
Yeah, I was just going to say there, like the last time Villa played at home, they beat Liverpool 7-1. So they'll be pretty confident going into this one. I fancy Villa as well. Early game on Saturday. West Ham back in form against the informed Man City, Finno.
I mean, nobody gave us a chance against Spurs, and I think rightly so, but no one will give us a chance against Man City, and neither would I think.
I love how honest you are. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably all be with you, except for the fact that you never know, Champions League midweek, is a bit of a distraction. Maybe they'll struggle a bit more than they would have done. And again, going back to the point we made earlier, Man City haven't been great at putting games to bed. So they probably, even if they do go a couple of goals up, it'll be in the back of their minds, won't it?
Yeah, you would think so.
For sure, and I think you definitely can't give Man City a 3-goal head start like you did Tottenham this weekend.
But psychologically, what has it done for West Ham, being hammered by Tottenham, come back, that last-minute equaliser galvanised them. They're going to go into this full of confidence. They're going to go at City, but I'm going to go for a City win. Aguero's back, and it's only a matter of time before he starts hitting the onion sack again. Fulham against Palace, 4 p.m. Central European time. Yeah, I mean, Fulham, what can we say every week? The same thing. There's no hope for them, really. And Palace obviously have Will Saha, and they look good in games. And, I don't think this is going to be the game of the week, as you talking about, Joe, Villa and Leeds. This one won't be. I could be a bore draw, possibly.
Yeah, Palace started well with 2 wins, and I thought, okay, because I tipped Palace to be relegated this season. And against Brighton, they were dire. They were really poor. So, it's going to be a tough one. I actually think Fulham, like Finno was saying, they've made some good signings. I predict Fulham to get their first win of the season this weekend.
I mean, why not? They're not going to lose every game, are they, this season? And they're, like you say, Palace a bit all over the place, really. So, but hard to predict.
Yeah, might be a win for Roy Hodgson. Big game at 6:30. Man United against Chelsea. United, of course, buoyed after that win against Newcastle. Tails up a little bit of confidence. I fancy United in this one.
Like you said, obviously, Chelsea score a lot of goals, but they do concede a lot of goals. And Manchester United are kind of similar. I think the win against Newcastle would have done Man U so much confidence. To be 1-0 down after 2 minutes, they could have folded and gone the other way. To come back and score 4 goals was very impressive.
Could have easily been 2-1 down. Callum Wilson, David De Gea with a world-class save. And yeah,
I don't know I never know whether momentum is an actual thing, but I do think that they've got some breathing space. It's not quite as dire, as it looked last week. And like you say, Chelsea look fun but flimsy, So there's no reason why that can't be a classic as well. I mean, virtually every big game we've seen so far this season, apart from maybe that Man City Arsenal one, have been like tons and tons of goals. So why not? I wouldn't be surprised to see another 4, 5, 6 goals in this.
I mean the hammering by Tottenham 6-1. International break comes. Imagine if they had have lost to Newcastle. And then obviously lose to Paris Saint-Germain and I go into this Chelsea game. The pressure Solskjaer would have been under. Who have you got on this one, Finno?
Well, every time that I tip Chelsea, they seem to not come through. But Timo Werner and Havertz have come onto a bit of a game. And I think seeing Timo Werner go up against Harry Maguire will be a thing of beauty, to be honest. So I can't see past Chelsea.
I think it depends who's in goal, doesn't it? Because you've got De Gea and you've got Kepa, 2 of the most out of form, under pressure Spanish goalkeepers.
Yeah, I think if it is those 2, I'd predict De Gea to be that little bit better, to be honest. And I think, but yeah, like I go back to get your money on. If you're a betting type, you don't mind losing a bit because my tips are terrible. Get on the total goals and suspect it to be a lot.
And the evening game at Anfield, Liverpool against Sheffield United. According to Liverpool fans, they'll have no chance because they'll have no defence. Things are so bad now. Virgil van Dijk is gone. They're actually considering recalling Jamie Carragher.
I'd pay to see that. I really would.
What's your verdict on this one? Kev, got to be a home win, surely.
Well, that's the thing. It has to be. I mean, that's not a prediction. I just mean Liverpool absolutely have to win it. And I think if they don't, I think they really will start to be in a bit of trouble and will be starting to think what on earth is going on this season. But I don't think it's going to be clinical. I think, it'll be a case of scratching around to see who's at centre-back. We might very well see Fabinho back at centre-back, which means shuffling the midfield again. Thiago, no one knows if he's going to be injured after what happened. Obviously, as you said, Van Dijk's out. I mean, lots of doubts. I mean, they should. I just think it's turning back the clock 3 years, like I said at the start. So I think probably see a bit of a rollercoaster. Wouldn't be surprised to see it be like, 4-2, something like that.
We always see players go back to their former club and scoring. What do you think the chances are of Ryan Brewster going back to Liverpool and scoring his first goal for Sheffield United?
In the name of God, no.
He's bound to score. There's no defence now. No defence. Liverpool are playing away at Ajax tomorrow night. So, I mean, God knows what's going to happen with regards to players. Do they get infected with COVID or what's going to happen, So, who knows? But yeah, I'll go for a Liverpool win. I mean, Sheffield United have been very poor this season. Do you agree, Finno, I'm sure?
Yeah, I think so. Even though, I mean, a Van Dijkless Liverpool don't really strike the same fear into the opposition, but Adrian definitely strikes all of the fear into Liverpool fans. Sheffield United are struggling big time. I mean, they got a point at the weekend, but that was to stop the rot of 7 straight losses. I would imagine that Ollie McBurney will have a decent game as well. Big physical presence. They'll be putting the ball in the box to test the defence and test the goalkeeper. I would expect both teams to score here, but I think Liverpool have enough up top to get the 3 points.
Ollie McBurney will do all that, and then he'll go on the piss with the Swansea fans.
Exactly.
A few games on Sunday as well. Big one, Joe. Southampton, Everton, 3 p.m.
Yeah, so Southampton are now unbeaten in 3, playing very well. They never seem to do that well against Everton, though. Everton have notoriously been Southampton's bogey team. Dominic Calvert-Lewin will score at some point in the game. That's a given. So it's just whether Southampton can, get going at home. Obviously, with Danny Ings, they always have a chance, but I'm going to go for an Everton win, unfortunately, for this one.
Mate, the only bad thing from a Saints point of view is that Jordan Pickford didn't get that red card because no one would be playing.
Very true, very true.
I think we'll be talking about Jordan Pickford till the end of the season. I mean, the draw is not the end of the world there either.
No, I think Southampton would take a draw against top of the league all day long, to be honest. Obviously, I think Southampton, where we're struggling a little bit is in the defence. Obviously, Yannick Vestergaard, our big 6'7" centre-back, has come into the team. He's doing okay, but not fantastically. So, yeah, like I said, I expect Dominic Calvert-Lewin to score. But, yeah, a draw would be amazing.
Right. Wolves, Newcastle. I'd love to say Newcastle will win, but I think the way things are going, Wolves have got that win against Leeds, and they'll be tails up. And I'd take a draw if I was a Newcastle fan. But again, they've had a decent start, so a draw wouldn't be the end of the world. An evening game, Arsenal host Leicester. Who knows what's going to happen with this one? I mean, who knows what Arsenal's going to turn up? Leicester looked really good at the start, but the wheels have kind of come off the wagon, haven't they?
I think they've got 5 or 6 injuries. I didn't watch their game this weekend, but I think they're missing Jamie Vardy. Obviously, he's a huge presence in their team. Without him, they just don't have that kind of focal point in attack. So if he's missing, I think it will be a struggle for them.
Yeah, I think this is one of those where Arsenal, as we've said, have not done amazingly well against the top teams in matches that really matter. So Leicester, are one of those sort of semi-top teams at least, or real contenders for top 6, top 8. So I think Arsenal have to win this, actually. I really do.
I believe they will in a high-scoring game, Arsenal against Leicester. What do you reckon, Finno?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin alluded to it there. I think they have to win. Much like Liverpool, they need to start creating some confidence that they're able to grind out results. And what better way to do it than, if Vardy is out for this game, they're going to be a little bit toothless in attack. So hopefully Arsenal can capitalise on that. And
a couple of games on Monday. Brighton host West Brom, and Burnley against Tottenham. I have a feeling Tottenham are going to go on a run. I think they'll be very close at the top around Christmas time.
Maybe so. Like you said, they should have won 2 more games than they have this season. They should have beaten Newcastle. They should have beaten West Ham. And if they had those extra 4 points, then they'd be in second. So, yeah, I would back them to beat Burnley. Burnley are looking very poor so far this season.
It'll be interesting to see what effect that West Ham game has on Tottenham. Losing a goal right at the very end, can that start to have your heads drop in training, standard slip, that sort of thing? Burnley's probably the best team that they can go to try and rectify the slump, I suppose. I mean, I know it's only one game, but they will have been disappointed by that. Son and Kane, as I've said, phenomenal players. Some weird kind of telepathic communication that they've got going on at the moment.
Yeah, I think Tottenham are warming up just nicely, and Kevin is warming up in the studio here. Press-ups, push-ups, and all sorts of stuff. And the poetic genius is about to unleash another masterpiece on us. Kev, what have you got for us this week? We can't wait.
Well, the only thing I've got for you this week is a little competition for you. If you spot the literary references, then I will personally buy you a pint.
Nice.
So there we go. All right, here goes. Once upon a weekend dreary, I sat and pondered, rather beery, how to meet these weekly deadlines when there are just too many headlines. Maguire helps Man U out of jail, the cursed return of Gareth Bale, relentless Villa ever bolder, Aguero's arm around the shoulder. But surely we must recommence at Goodison, where common sense gave way to rank stupidity. And VA, are you kidding me? You'd need Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to craft a better plot to spoil a game that's now been redesigned in service of those masterminds at Stockley Park, where each freeze frame makes me despair for this great game. You needn't be a great detective to see it's just plain ineffective. 'Cause seriously, what's the point in having all this highfalutin, newfangled technology when on the playback Coote can't see that Pickford's challenge on Van Dijk defined the word unsportsmanlike, and somehow, though they're sight deficient, their confidence remains sufficient to plot the lines and pause the action, and to no one's satisfaction, rule out Hendo's coup de grace and send us through the looking glass. For this weekend was just surreal, as Spurs attacking sex appeal saw them score 3, their stars all shining, then coolly bring on that new signing. Alas, there'd be no fairy tale, as through on goal, it's Gareth Bale, and at the death up pops Lanzini, as West Ham pull off a Houdini. If Spurs can do it, so can we, say fun but rickety Chelsea, who look a class apart be saints, until it turns out, no, they ain't. Another 3-3 in the mix, horror shows between the sticks. In fact, it now feels much more strange to see a 1-0 for a change. Arsenal went down thus at City. It wasn't fun, it wasn't pretty, but Sterling's strike was just a ticket as Pep survived a sticky wicket. Villa won by the same distance as Leicester's valiant resistant comes up short and Barkley scores to make it 4 wins out of 4. So as I lay there, contemplating match week 5, just so frustrating, it made me long for a simpler era when Michael Owen, Alan Shearer scored and didn't have to wait before we all could celebrate. So ditch the constant stops in action, stop imagining infractions. The gods of FIFA we implore, leave us the football, nothing more.
Very good.
There hasn't been a delivery as good from a Scouser since the days of Steve McManaman. Absolutely brilliant, Kev. This has been the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman Football Podcast. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe. Finno, thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Speak to you soon.
Joe, thank you.
Pleasure.
Kev.
Delighted.
Brilliant once again. Chat to you again next Tuesday. Enjoy the games, guys. Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear more of our podcasts, please click on the red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side. Thank you.